Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 19.2E. I've entitled this video, The Modern Era of North Africa. This video is going to cover pages 593 to 595. The Modern Era. North Africans formed their own countries in the late 1900s. In recent decades, these countries have changed in far-reaching ways. Often, unrest accompanied the changes. Foreign rule. In the 1500s, North Africa began to fall under the rule of foreign armies. The Portuguese and Spanish captured parts of Morocco. The Ottoman Empire, based in modern Turkey, took the rest. Question number 1. What powers took over North Africa in the 1500s? Well, you had a combination of Portugal and Spain taking parts of Morocco, and then the Ottoman Empire, today called Turkey, took the rest. The 1800s saw Ottoman power weaken, and Europeans move into North Africa. France began to conquer Algeria in 1830. Although it took several decades, by the late 1800s, France controlled that area and Tunisia too. Some Europeans who settled in these areas grew wealthy. Muslim natives, though, were largely poor. In the early 1900s, France and Spain split control of Morocco. At about the same time, Italy seized Libya. Question number 2. What happened in North Africa in the 1800s? Well, you started to see the Ottoman Empire / Turkey weaken their power, and Europeans moved in and started picking off these one at a time. Question 3. What happened to Algeria and Tunisia by the late 1800s? What happened to them is that France took control of them. Question 4. How was income inequality present in North Africa at that time? Well, some of the Europeans who moved into these regions, they got wealthy, and Muslims that were already living there stayed largely poor. So you saw a huge income inequality gap between the incoming Europeans and the Muslims who had already been living there. Question number 5. What happened to Morocco in the early 1900s? Morocco was basically split between France and Spain. Question number 6. What happened to Libya in the early 1900s? It was taken over by Italy. Egypt kept its independence for much of the 1800s. Its kings tried to build a more modern state. One of the accomplishments was completing construction of the Suez Canal in 1869. The Suez Canal quickly became a vital waterway. Because of the canal's importance, though, other nations wanted to control Egypt. In 1882, Britain sent troops to Egypt. Kings continued to rule, but the British were the real power in the country. Question number 7. Unlike many of its counterparts in North Africa, what was Egypt able to do for much of the 1800s? Keep its independence. Question number 8. What big transportation accomplishment did Egypt create in 1869? The finishing of the Suez Canal, pictured right here. Sorry, pictured right there. There we go. Question number 9. Why was the Suez Canal both a blessing and a curse for Egypt? Well, this canal really boosted transportation in the region, which did bring Egypt a lot of income. However, it also had countries like Britain looking at them with very greedy eyes. And so it kind of led Britain to want to conquer Egypt and send the troops there. So it was both a blessing and a curse. Independence. Many North Africans resented European control. Independence movements arose across the region in the early 1900s. They gained strength after World War II. Italy had been defeated in the war, and France and Britain were severely weakened. Egypt broke free of foreign control first. In 1952, a group of Egyptian army officers revolted against the king and the British. They created an independent republic, and they put the government in charge of the economy. Question number 10. How did many North Africans feel about European control in the early 1900s? They resented it. They did not like it. Question number 11. What major world war helped North African countries in their struggle for independence? World War II. Because World War II, Italy lost that war, and France and Britain won the war, but Germany had taken a lot out of them in the war. Question number 12. What was Egypt able to do in 1952? They were able to have a revolution and create their own independent republic. Algerians had to fight long and hard for independence. They rebelled against French rule starting in 1954. Not until 1962 did they succeed in ousting the French. Many Europeans fled the country after independence was achieved. Question number 13. What was Algeria able to do in 1962? Well, after a long struggle, they were able to win their independence. Military leaders also took control of Libya in 1969. They were led by Muammar al-Gaddafi. He remained in control of the nation and its oil wealth for more than 40 years. Tunisia and Morocco have avoided military rule. Tunisia has been a republic since gaining independence in 1959. Morocco has had a monarchy since gaining freedom from France in 1956. And now we can go to question number 14. What military dictator was able to seize control of Libya in 1969 and rule for more than 40 years? That is Muammar al-Gaddafi. Question 15. What kind of government has Tunisia enjoyed since winning its independence in 1959? It has been a republic. Question 16. What kind of government has Morocco had since winning its independence in 1956? Well, they have had a monarchy, so ruled by a king/queen, since that time. Recent decades. Independence has not always led to success for the countries of North Africa. Algeria has been plagued by unrest among Islamic political groups. Tunisia's government was often accused by the U.S. government of neglecting the rights of the nation's people. Libyan leader Gaddafi had a harsh regime or style of government. Dissent was suppressed, and the government controlled all aspects of life. Gaddafi angered other nations by supporting terrorist groups. And now we can answer a couple questions. Question 17. What problems has Algeria faced since winning independence? Well, there's been a lot of unrest among the Islamic political groups there, and that has really plagued them. Question 18. What criticism has America accused the Tunisian government of since it won its independence? Well, we have accused them of neglecting the rights of their people, human rights. Question number 19. What does the word regime mean? A regime is a style of government. Question 20. What are two reasons why America disapproved of Gaddafi's government in Libya when he was in power? Well, first of all, he suppressed dissent. In other words, if people disagreed with Muammar Gaddafi, the government kept it down. They either would censor it or use violence to silence people. And secondly, government controlling all aspects of life. We don't like that as far as our democratic views. And then certainly we didn't like the fact that Gaddafi was supporting terrorist groups. Whoops. There we go. Meanwhile, other problems built up in these nations. High population growth strained their economies. Corrupt governments fueled unrest. In recent years, Muslim fundamentalists have led a movement for the people and government to follow the strict laws of Islam. They also reject Western influences on Muslim society. Question 21. What are two other challenges that these North African countries faced during the more recent times? High population growth, which pushes their economies to the brink, and also corrupt governments. Question number 22. What do Muslim fundamentalists believe? They believe that the governments in this part of the world should adhere to the stricter laws of Islam and get rid of the Western influences on their society. These problems came to a head in late 2010 in a series of revolts called the Arab Spring. The revolts began in Tunisia, where widespread unrest succeeded in convincing the longtime president to step down from power early in 2011. Tunisians celebrated as a new government took office. Question number 23. What did the world see when the Arab Spring began in late 2010? They saw a series of revolts as countries around North Africa were looking to kick out the old governments and replace them with different governments. Question number 24. After Tunisia changed its government in early 2011, I think we got a little ahead of ourselves there. Let's move on to the next slide. There we go. Emboldened by this success, many Egyptians took to the streets. For more than 2 weeks, thousands of Egyptians turned out every day in Cairo and other cities to protest the government. This revolt also succeeded. In February 2011, Egypt's longtime president Hosni Mubarak gave up power. A group of officers took control and promised to create a new government run by civilians. In 2012, Egyptians voted in the first free presidential election in the country's history. Unrest also arose in Morocco. There, the king agreed to several reforms that would give more power to the people. And now we're ready for these questions. Question number 24. After Tunisia changed its government in early 2011, what happened in Egypt's government? Well, people protested and eventually it worked as their president, their longtime president, gave up power and they took control of the government and they had elections in the first free presidential election in their country's history. Question 25. During the Arab Spring, what happened to Morocco's government? Well, there, the king did get to stay in power, but the people convinced the king to put forth several reforms to give the people at least more power. The Arab Spring revolt also reached Libya. The government cracked down on protests. That response angered more Libyans. A civil war, or a fight for control of the government, broke out. After months of fighting, the rebels succeeded in taking control of the country. In October of 2011, they killed Gaddafi, and his remaining supporters gave up. Question 26. During the Arab Spring, what happened to Libya's government? Well, you had a craziness going on. The government cracked down on the people got more upset, a civil war broke out. A civil war is when people fight in their own country against each other, and eventually in this civil war, Gaddafi was killed, and the country changed power again. Well, thank you so much for watching. Before we go, I do have something for you. One simply does not declare independence without a fight. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.